Today is National Women's Day. Hi, I'm Sandia from FPE Automation, and I'm here today with Mette McCall, who is owner of McCall Media. Hi, Mette.
Hi, Sandia.
And as a female business owner in automation, you were number one on my list of people to speak with in honor of National Women's Day. The thing is, you are about to hop onto a plane to travel to Chicago to do a success story with one of FPE Automation's customers in Naperville. Man, I'm so grateful that you took the time out of your very busy schedule to spend a few minutes with me today telling your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandia. It's good to be here.
So, Mette, as a woman in automation for a number of years now, how have you seen the landscape change in terms of the number of women in key roles like yours? And how welcoming has engineering been to the shift?
Well, I definitely think we've seen a change over the years. So I have been actually handling PR and some of the marketing efforts for Universal Robots in the USA and Canada for quite a few years now. Actually, about I think 10 and a half years since they entered the market back in 2012. And back then, there were not very many women, and I definitely see a lot more now. Not just in marketing and communication, because I think that has traditionally always been the place where you will see most of the female roles in automation, but also in product marketing and on our UR Plus team, working with partners on the solutions for the UR Cobot arms, and also in the application engineering field. I see more women now, and I think it's really a testament to sort of like the diversity that Universal Robots is also trying to create in their team and what they're doing. So it's been really good to witness for sure.
What have you noticed has transpired over the years as far as growth and change with Universal Robots?
So Universal Robots, they have been one of my largest clients within industrial automation now as I mentioned, for about a decade. And when they first entered the market, we were a very small team. I think the first Automate that we went to in 2013, there was just a handful of people coming over from Denmark, because at that time there was only Ed Mullen at the time and myself working with Universal Robots in North America. So everybody else had to be flown in from Denmark because there was no team at the time. And then fast forward to, Automate 2022, there's about 50 plus people, working for Universal Robots North America. So that has been quite the ride to have been part of that crazy growth trajectory. And also just to remember the early days, like now, cobots is as a household name within our industry. Back then, nobody really knew what it was. And I never forget, like the first time we ran a collaborative robot without safety guarding at IMTS and at Automate, people, and we would let it run into us on purpose. And people would just come up and be shocked because they had just never seen an industrial robot outside safety fencing before. It's really not that long ago that was just not something you did. You would always cage it. So that was really truly revolutionary, and I think that's been really interesting to see, remembering how that was in the old days, if you will, to how it is today, and also to see how sophisticated the technology keeps becoming. I mean, it's never boring to work for you. There's always new things happening, also in the ecosystem. So many new partners, both in the UR Plus ecosystem and in there with the OEM partners that they work with. All of these turnkey systems that UR Cobots power now. Like, just like 5 years ago, you would really have to go out and buy a robot arm off the shelf and then piecemeal it together with all these other components that you would have to go out and spec and figure out on your own. And now there are all these turnkey systems from vendors that work with Universal Robots that build everything on the UR Cobot platform. You can go out and buy, and I think that's really exciting. And
That is exciting. You can basically just roll a solution into your shop and have it up
yeah,
and running in just a matter of a half a day or
yeah,
hours.
plug it into a 110 outlet and have it up and running. And I think that's a big change in the industry that I'm seeing. And I think that's something that's going to continue happening. We're going to continue innovate within that field. It's going to get more and more like, you buy a ship ready system. And I think also like with the case studies that I do, going out to see people deploy these kind of systems. I was just in Fort Lauderdale at a mega yacht where they were installing these exhaust systems that were welded by UR cobots on a whole, a turnkey system developed by a welding partner of UR. So, that's so interesting to see. You go to the woods in Vermont and you see that they're using a turnkey sanding system to sand their cutting boards. So it is so versatile, and it's so much fun to fly around the country and do these kind of success stories and meet everybody from like Northern Ontario to Southern California, that are using the UR cobots in new ways, like every day really.
Well, that is truly fascinating. And here we're looking at a universal robot sanding what looks to be a part of a guitar.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice that you'd give to younger women just entering into traditionally male-oriented industries like automation?
I think just don't be intimidated. I mean, I think that's kind of like really that sounds so sort of basic, right? But when I entered the industry back a decade ago, I knew nothing about robotics. I was doing PR for high-tech software and solutions that had nothing to do with industrial automation, safety and security, and embedded software. And it was very, very far from a robotic arm for manufacturing. But it was fun, and I just dove right in. And the more you learn, I think also intrinsically, the more interesting it becomes. And I think just don't take any kind of male colleague trying to mansplain you things. Just don't suffer that. And I think when you then start asking questions that show, oh, you actually know a little bit about what you're talking about the robot. Like when I come up and I do case studies for the customer success stories that you referenced for Universal Robots, like I'm about to out and do now with an FBE automation customer. If you show that you know just a little bit about what the robot is actually doing, contrary to what they might think you do, it opens up a whole other level of communication on a different level that you can have with them. And I really enjoy that once I start asking, oh, okay, so you're not using a PLC, are you? Like you're using the cobot's own controller to communicate with the peripherals, aren't you? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's what we're doing. And then they realize, oh, I can talk to her on that level as well, which is nice. And I'm by no means an engineer, but just having worked, for so many years with UR cobots and learning how they work and figuring out how to ask questions that might get audiences interested in the cobots, realize the benefits they deliver. That's been really interesting.
Well, you certainly have acquired quite a bit of knowledge in those years. Mette and I have something quite unusual in common. We both have lived in the same town in Denmark. Viborg is not too far from Odense, where Universal Robots Global Headquarters is located. So with that in mind, Mette, I'd like to say, mange tak for at snakke med mig i dag. Jeg håber, at du har en god tur til FPE Automation.
Oh, wow. Mange tak for det, Sandia. I'm always very impressed with your Danish when we meet each other. It's so interesting that you were in that little town where I went to high school. And I think by Danish standards, they're actually it's not close to Odense, but by American standards, it's very close because
by American standards, it's close. It's what, a couple of hours maybe by car?
Yeah, it's about 3 hours away, and by Danish standards, that's like, oh, that's quite far.
But that's quite far. It would be too far to have a job in Odense and work in Viborg, or live in Viborg, but it's still by American standards close by.
Yeah,
it's still really quite amazing that we share that story.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's always fun to see you at trade shows come up and greet me in Danish. And being born and raised in Denmark and working with a Danish customer like Universal Robots, I think I get the best of both worlds. I lived here in the US for 20 years, yet I get to talk to a lot of Danish colleagues back in Denmark that also work at Universal Robots back at their headquarters there. And I sometimes get to be a little bit of a cultural ambassador to explaining the different sort of cultures in Denmark to the US team and vice versa. So I also
I'd
sort of
like
have
to
that
be a fly
function
on the wall for
sometimes.
that conversation. That must be really interesting. Well, Mette, thanks again. Tusen tak. And have a great trip and a great day.
Sure, thank you.